20 Treasures, Laura Mackay from Lothian Health Service Archive talks about the cervical smear campaign Promotional Leaflet of 1988.
So this was one of the leaflets created by the Cervical Smear campaign, which ran in the 1980s. This leaflet is part of their promotional material. So to give some historical context, during the early 1980s, there was a string of potentially avoidable deaths from cervical cancer, which received a lot of media attention. So as a result of this, the existing cervical screening services were in extremely high demand, which in turn led to laboratory services having a backlog of 10,000 unread slides. So in order to catch up, the screening program was frozen. This incited Edinburgh District Local Health Council and Edinburgh District Council Women's Committee to create a new campaign in order to safeguard women's health and save lives. Their main demands were twofold: that Lothian Board lift all the restrictions on cervical screening services, and that they create a fully comprehensive service in Lothian and Scotland. The campaign was ultimately really successful. They amassed a signature of their petition amassed signatures of 18,000, I think. As a result, the Lothian Health Board in 1988 introduced 3 yearly screening for women aged 20 and over, a computerized recall system, and an automatic notification of all test results to women themselves, in addition to their doctors. To me, this leaflet is really important because historically, the medical establishment has excluded women from discourses surrounding their own health, treatment and care. The campaign was spearheaded predominantly by women, and they created this leaflet as a result of women's treatment being compromised. I think it's a wonderful example of sort of grassroots activism that was ultimately successful. And the women who ran the campaign were so incredibly organized and proactive. They gave talks, they produced information leaflets like this one, they even made a video, and then this was all done in the absence of health education material, readily available health education material. And actually, this is a quote from the campaign. If it's okay, I'd like to read it out. From a talk they did, that one of the campaign members did. We learned the importance of detailed and extensive research and how to collect information with a medical dictionary in one hand and a medical textbook or learned journal in the other, and how to translate this into words we could understand. And I think this shows how they tried to sort of filter through that institutional voice in order to provide health education for the community at large. I also think that this information leaflet provides information that sort of helps women not feel afraid of gynecological examinations, which is something I think a lot of women are fearful, intimidated by them. And a lot of women didn't actually know what was happening when the doctor was, I quote, doing a little internal, because no one ever explained it to them. And this is another quote from one of the campaign members, and it says, "It's not easy to ask questions when you're on your back with no knickers and you can't even see what's happening." And I think this also just shows the sort of level of discomfort a lot of women went through when being examined, when they didn't even understand what was happening. I also love the imagery of the campaign. I like the sort of the front cover of that leaflet, but I do think that the back of the leaflet is quite poignant in the sense that they list helpful books on cervical cancer and as well as women's health and where to access them. And they also mentioned that the information leaflets were translated into different languages like Cantonese, Urdu, Punjabi, Bengali and Hindi, and where to get these from. And you can also see right at the bottom of the back of the leaflet that this leaflet was written by the Cervical Smear Campaign, the Lothian Health Education Department, and women living in the area, which shows the sort of grassroots approach that the campaign took and how they involved people at a community level. And I also just finally want to highlight something that I think is quite important, that although the campaign was inclusive in the sense that they translated their leaflets into multiple languages and their illustrations for their promotional material include a diverse range of people, they still targeted the women specifically. And I guess this, is partly due to the societal context. It's the 1980s, but obviously we now understand that cancer of the cervix doesn't just affect women, and not only women have cervix services, and that trans and non-binary people can also contract the disease and should also have regular smear tests.
For more information, visit www.scottisharchives.org.uk/treasures.